Evaluation is actually a very valuable tool here at Toastmasters, and our next speakers will give us a presentation on that.
I got it.
Well, I will read this,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Cynthia Rogan and Joanna are co-facilitating this discussion about how to draw out and enhance the gifts members bring to their speaker and functionary roles each week. This presentation is their variation of the successful club series project entitled Evaluate to Motivate. Cynthia and Joanna are currently, Cynthia is currently the treasurer, and Joanna is the VP of membership for our club. And also they both bring a valuable perspective, Joanna as a professional speaker and Cynthia as a writer and actor. Thank you very much. Evaluate to Motivate.
I'm wondering if we just want to, why are you here? I know why I'm here. I'll tell you why I'm here, and then maybe some of you will share, because that wasn't get up and leave. I'm here for the table topics, because I'm used to being on the stage. I've been there. I've felt that. I've done my speeches. I write. I'm used to critique in that way. But table topics are really hard for me. It's hard for me to be spontaneous in speaking in front of other people. I come here to do that, and I come here for the company. So.
And that's what we were talking about when we were sitting and having, we didn't have coffee to bring for everyone, but we were having coffee, so you gotta think coffee, and
Right.
a little water here. Until
Cheers.
last Sunday, we were having coffee, and we started off having a conversation with something like this, like, why are we here? You know, I started coming into Toastmasters back in the 1980s when I was in a corporate environment, and I made a speech in front of a management team, and I froze and I couldn't say my name. And if I had, and I walked into this large group of 35 Toastmasters in a great big meeting, and I might have turned around and run away if somebody hadn't been at the door and grabbed me by the hand and said, I'm so glad you're here. And it took me a long time to even get my voice to come out for anything in the meeting. And I keep coming back because I wouldn't be where I am today without Toastmasters, and I found this a wonderful community, and I love supporting people in their personal growth. And sometimes I get really frustrated with what happens in the meetings when people come and go. And I really like their presence here, and I start asking, why are people leaving? And what might be happening in our club, that things are going in that direction? What would help people stick around for a bit longer? Like Dana, and Dana even wrote us a letter.
She apparently went to a board meeting and shared this information, but it didn't get to us, not to all of us. And I have to say, I came back and I felt this. I was in a show and I was gone for like 3 months, and I came back, and the very first time I got up to do table topics, everything I said ended up on the awe counter list. You know? I mean, it was just, and it was the most discouraging. It made me think, wow, maybe I shouldn't be here. And if I'm feeling that way, who else is? So that's what we were talking, and to read this, that Dina was feeling this way as well. That maybe the reason people aren't coming back or they lose interest is because it has become more critical than constructive, more structured rather than molded or created. If you're afraid of the critique you're going to get, how are you going to get up and share your story? How are you going to share yourself? And that's what people are trying to do. I feel like if something gets in the way of someone being heard, they need to know about it. But if you're hearing them and feeling them and they're coming across, are they really doing anything wrong? Even if they're coulda, shoulda, woulda, gonna, not saying their words properly or repeating themselves for emphasis. Am I getting through to you? Do you understand what I'm saying? Am I going to be a great speaker? Maybe. Because a lot of people are not offended by coulda, shoulda, woulda, or repetition. Am I going to be a good business type speaker? Not necessarily, but that's not my goal. My goal is to be heard. My goal is to be felt. So I believe that we need to assess our speakers individually, as well as with the manuals. But the manuals can't be the absolute, in my opinion.
As we were having this conversation, we were talking about how we tend to love, what the people bring and who we really appreciate in the club and things. One of the things that I kept coming back to, that I've always come back to, is like, how, as an evaluator, can I help draw out the unique, beautiful potential of that person who's come in here and has a really quirky nature about themselves, that if they were, that they might be afraid to really share. I think of one person in our club that I wish was here, because I would acknowledge him and I'd love to talk about him when he's here. That when he first came in, his main gestures were like this, and he could hardly get his words out.
But we nurtured him.
And we nurtured him, and then there was a period of time where he went away because he felt uncomfortable for some reason. And it took me being in touch with him and saying, how you doing, we miss you, and eventually he came back. And people change, people grow, and clubs change and grow. And I really believe that what has happened when he came back is that something nurtured his sense of self in a way that he was able to begin to then explore the humor aspect of his delivery. And I'm just amazed at how much this person has grown in our club. And I see that with a lot of different people. There are some very advanced speakers in this club that have their own style. For me, I got to a point where I just stopped listening to how many ands I have. I felt like they weren't attracting for me, and what I was looking for is, how is somebody going to be able to help me nurture and develop the uniqueness of my style, and how can we help others learn how to do that with each other in our club, to help come up with the development of a uniqueness of style rather than trying to fit them into what I call the Toastmaster box. Are you using the stage? It might be better to stand center stage for a speaker given the topic that they're using. And just because I can't come up with a suggestion about how to do something differently and I'm feeling stuck, I might say, well, use the stage, but that might not be the best advice. What else might we be able to do if we're stuck up here to give feedback to someone? And I might have asked that to Cynthia. Does anybody have an idea of what they might do if you don't have something and you'd like to, and they say in the quote manual, it's really need to give feedback about you could do something better.
Right, and you can't think of a thing they could have done better. Ask the audience, can you think of anything? Can you think of anything that might have helped with this speech?
Well, then one thing to do is to ask, you did this well, do it more. So it's a suggestion for improvement, but it's not a corrective.
Right.
It's a...
Right,
But you're
because you have to feel safe. You have to feel a little bit, you have to be able to feel good about what you just did. Otherwise, you're not going to want to do it again.
Yeah.
It's just going to be fear. all over.
So what we want to do is give permission to the evaluators that are coming up as you're doing the evaluations. And I have, so you don't have to take notes, there is actually a printed outline of how to give an effective evaluation. We're not going to go completely step by step, but the biggest piece of it for me is the idea that if you get stuck for giving feedback to someone, that you have all of these people that can help you. So if you're new and you're giving an evaluation and you would like to give a deeper evaluation to somebody that's a really advanced speaker and you're just not even connecting with what that might be, ask the question. Help me out here, folks. You can do that as a speaker in front of the room. You're not up here just to try and figure it out and have to know it all yourself. That's number one. And number two is I statements, right, Cynthia?
I
Aye.
statements, yes. I feel,
Excuse me, can I clarify something? Ask you to clarify. When you talked about asking the other people in the room for ideas on how to make this a deeper evaluation, are you saying when you're standing up evaluating the speaker, that's at the time, a point in time when you can request
Yes,
input?
right.
Yes.
Yes,
That, and
yes,
to recognize in the language that we're not evaluating the speaker.
we're evaluating
We're
the
evaluating the
speech.
speech.
Okay.
Because a lot of us get afraid about people
Sure.
evaluating us. Yes, and while
Okay.
you're making that presentation, if you're at a point, you can say, and so, anybody have an idea? Just one or two things, quick. You know,
Cool.
that they might have done differently.
That's
And
it.
somebody might have seen something that you didn't catch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to make another
Mhm.
thought, share another thought. In fine arts, in art, photography, we get critiqued. We're used to being critiqued all the time. It's easy enough to critique somebody on their skills, their technical skills, their concepting skills. But if you don't understand what their goal was, your critique doesn't really hold water.
Yes.
Exactly.
I did a photograph that I was absolutely spot on what my goal was, and it was slammed because it wasn't the way other people thought it should be. I intentionally put on a blur filter,
Mhm.
a soft gauze filter, because I wanted it to have that feel. And people were like, well, but it isn't sharp. Well, my goal was to make it soft. So,
Right, because it didn't fit into the box they were looking
Exactly.
for. And that's what we want to avoid here, because each of us has a different reason for being here. We each have different talents, different abilities, different, things that hold us back. And as a group, we know each other, and so we should critique based on what we know they're going for. Is that?
Or if we're not, even if we think we know, it's still useful to either see somebody in advance of the meeting and say, what's your goal for this speech?
exactly.
That's true.
Or to call them up in
Yes.
advance and say, what would you like me to look for in this speech? Because it's all about self-empowerment to the individual.
Exactly, and that's where I was going with that thought.
Nice.
To
Thank you for that.
understand what their particular goal is. And it's not what the book says it is.
Right.
One of the comments I came up with when we did that was that when somebody's working on the competent communication manual, I thought what would be appropriate would be on the first 5 or 6 speeches that there would be a very minimum amount of critiquing as far as what to improve on, and a broad spectrum of kudos, just to be able to start building somebody's confidence up. And then as a person got familiar with being up there and got familiar with the way we feedback and stuff, and started adding a little bit more constructive construction to it.
Nice. Bill?
So I'm brand new, and I don't know if you want my opinion.
Yes,
As a brand-
it's the
please.
best.
As a brand new
Better.
person giving speech, listen, I like what Daniel does, and I like what Walter does, and I also like what Jesse does. Jesse will prop you up no matter how crappy you did. On the other hand, Daniel calls it like he sees it, and so does Walter. And at the end of the day, that's what's going to make me better. I have no fear. So is it okay if I stand up there and say, please be brutally honest with me?
You know,
Exactly.
and that's really
Yes.
what I want to get to is
I don't want
I would
fluff.
like to create in
I
this
love you, but I
club.
don't want fluff.
I would really like to create in the club and in every club the option where people can, in their process, at the very beginning of the meeting say, you know, I don't want you counting my ahs and ums tonight. Or I want you to really hit it hard. I want you to really nail it for me. Because there are personalities that are Teflon, they can take it and, you know, they want it. But there are other personalities like the Dinas of the world that, and me's of the world that have a very tender critic. You know, I criticize myself well enough. You know, I can do the evaluation from a distance on myself. And we're running low on time, and so we're going to get to a little wrap up here. Was there something, Caitlin, you wanted?
I was just going to say, what if we had, I mean, something as simple as like a little traffic light with a couple of Velcro circles, and when you went up there to do your speech, you slapped up a green circle, you slapped up a yellow, you slapped up a red. Green means give me support. Yellow means, okay, give it sandwich style, but give it soft. Red means just hit me.
Yeah. This is why I handed out these blank pieces of paper, because all we can do right now in 15 minutes is get you thinking about this. And so what I'd like you to do is to take a moment before you leave today and to write down ideas like this that we heard from Caitlin as to how you would like to create an environment that's nurturing for you, not just for everyone else, for you. What would you like to see, so that we can come up with perhaps you know, a playful variation on how we can do the different functions. We just talked a lot about the evaluation section of the program. When I was at the Southern Oregon Speech Masters, I really was happy to see how they've taken a different approach to some of the ways that functionary roles are done. It's very much more playful and general. You know, folks, we need to be better with the ands tonight. That works for me. Without going, you know, Joanna, you did yes. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And, you know, it happened to me the last time that I got that kind of feedback, that the person who was evaluating my table topic didn't get that I was playing the little girl who goes, well, yeah, And so I got all my ums counted. And I go, you know, and my little girl says, well, maybe I shouldn't come out and play.
Yeah.
So there's an element of listening, and as an evaluator to begin to notice if you can become empathetic with the person that's up there and see if you can connect with them and draw out that unique potential of what's really great. I love Cynthia's work because Cynthia is this very authentic, real, say it like it is person, and if she said it with any other accent or any other no hiccups or however people want her to change, it wouldn't be Cynthia for me.
Thanks. Yeah, in my opinion, anybody who gets up here and says more than 2 words deserves some applause, because
yeah.
It's not easy. It's not easy. Sometimes it's easy. Oh, for some of us it's easy, but it's not easy for me anytime. Is it easy for you?
No, I hate table topics. It's the hardest thing in the world for me to do.
Yeah.
You know, we're walking the edge of our comfort zone here.
Yes.
We want to help each other and nurture each other, and this is our club. So if it's not working for you, before you leave, please say, you know, something's not working for me and I need it to change. And write down some suggestions. How can we maybe make it so that we can choose what kind of evaluations we get at each meeting, for each section and each function? Because some of us want to use all the tools of the program, and others want to not take it quite so concretely. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's a way we can meet all of our needs here. And so, yeah.
Stop that. Yeah.
So I'm going to hand out this how to do evaluations, which will help you with your evaluation portion. And if you have any other questions or you want us to talk further on this topic, please write that in your little notes. Give us some ideas as to how you'd like to receive it differently.
Please.
And thanks for joining us.
Thank you.